In this video, we're going to look at using sessions to simulate a login. This is very similar to our previous one on cookies, except we use sessions. The session variables, which uses a super global just like the cookies array does, store on the web server, however. So the user doesn't get to see all of the data. It's more secure, and the web server presumably has a higher storage limit. So there are a number of advantages. Sessions still require, however, that you send a cookie. And what is sent is a cryptographically generated string of random-looking text. So the only thing that really shows up on the user's machine is that single cookie. So let's look at what we have here. Excuse me. We have a username and a password box. I've not used a true password box just so we can see what's happening here, and a login. And just to demonstrate what happens, we still have the same users we had before. We have Linda and Dave, and let's log in with Dave here. So we have only two users who could actually log in, and Dave's password is Superman. And if he logs in, he goes to a member page called Welcome. He is redirected to welcome.php. Because we saved a session variable with his name, we can display his name when he goes to the welcome page. This link might normally take him to another page for members who have logged in. And if he logs out, then his session is canceled and he is then redirected back to the login page. So let's look at the code for this. If we're looking, here we are at the login page. We have a form very similar, in fact it's almost the same, that we had with the cookies login program. So we have a username text box, a password test box, a submit button named login. And since we are using sessions, any page that uses sessions has to use session start function, which either sends that original cookie to the user if the session is new, or if the session ID comes back, then the session start retrieves the data stored on the local server and populates that super global array so that you can use it. So this must be at the head of every page that uses sessions, and it does send a header, so it needs to happen first. Then, assuming that the user clicked post, then we get the username and password. We assign it to variables. As I mentioned last time, the storing your users and their passwords in an associative array is a very primitive way to do it, and you certainly wouldn't do it that way normally in a commercial environment. But it all fits on one page if we do it. So this is the way we're doing it now until we can talk about a better method. So Dave has Superman for a password. Linda has Porsche 911. This variable here, redirect, just gives the URL of the welcome page they will be redirected to if they are successful in logging in. And if they're not, we have an empty string up here named error to collect any errors that do occur. We say if a key exists in the user's array, which is how this function works, that matches the username, Dave or Linda, and at the same time that username generates a matching key to our password, then we consider the user authenticated, and we set an authentication cookie. We get their username for later use. In this case, we take the start time, although we don't use it for this particular example, and we redirect them to the welcome page. And then this exit statement runs, which cancels any code on this page, because when we go to the next page, we don't want code on this page to continue running. If the user did not authenticate, then we we assign the error variable a message, and since they are not redirected, they'll stay on this particular page, and then error down here, if error will test as true, and you print the error message and still show them the same form. So assuming the redirect was successful, and it was when we logged in, we go to this page. This page uses the session variables we started earlier that were stored on the web server during the login page. So it needs session start to make use of those variables. We have a test to see if the user is trying to outrun the login page. In other words, if they try to log, if they type if they type in welcome.php directly into their browser, this catches that and makes sure that they redirects them back to the login page. So it says if is not set. It's is set is the function, and then I don't know if you can see it well. There's a exclamation point. So this says if it's not set, if this authentication session variable is not set, then relocate them back to the login page and then exit. You run the exit command. So assuming they did authenticate, the only thing that really happens here normally then is they could log out. If they click the log out button, then we cancel the session. So we say if is set post log out, meaning they click that button. We want to kill the cookie, so we set the cookie name. We give it an expiration time of a negative value, so that we know that cancels the cookie. We know session destroy ends the session, and then we redirect them using the header function back to the login page, and then you run the exit command if they log out. Now normally what they would do here, we didn't show it very well, but there would have been a link down here for them to go to other pages that somebody who could log in might want to visit. So that's how this works, and the code is very similar to our cookie login one, except as you know, sessions store almost all of the information on the web server, which is more secure. But let me show you the cryptographic key here. Let me open this very quickly in Firefox. So localhost, login, and that should have set the session ID cookie. And so now if I go to Firefox options again, you can't see it, that happened quickly, but I hit options twice there. In the privacy thing, change this value, and now I can see show cookies. The name of my domain is localhost, so if I scroll down to localhost, I've been kind of playing with localhost, so there may be more than one cookie here, but here's localhost, and if I scroll down, I can find here is the PHP session ID default cookie name, and you can see that the value of that is just some garbled bunch of text generated by some of the cryptographic routines available to PHP, and so it doesn't really convey any meaning other than it uniquely identifies the session, so that for the session variables. So sessions are probably used more often than cookies in terms of login because of the extra security and space. And if you need a lot of data, then usually somebody associates your application with a database, which we will talk about in later lessons.